A bill has been submitted to create a national castle doctrine and a national stand your ground law. Stick by and watch this episode of Guns and Gadgets. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate your time. My name is Jared and you are watching Guns and Gadgets, the premier source for Second Amendment news in all of the interwebs. I bring news from all corners of the nation, no matter if it's good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, related to our right to protect ourselves. Let's move to Missouri. This bill that I'm about to talk to you about came as a result of the St. Louis Circuit Attorney, Kimberly Gardner, and her rogue attack on the McCloskey family. Mark and Patricia McCloskey, this very famous case now, they protected themselves in the face of a violent, threatening mob, and the world fell apart. The rogue circuit attorney has decided that even though they were grounded in state, local, and federal law in defending themselves, and they did nothing wrong, she decided she was going to charge them anyway because she's funded by Big Daddy Soros, and she's an anti-gunner, and she has to take the side of her bosses. And also I want to mention that of the dozens and dozens of people who were arrested during the St. Louis riots, she has refused to charge any of them with burning down buildings, violently attacking people, but she's going after this couple who decided to protect themselves. Now this bill is H.R. 7716. I'll have a link down below to the congress.gov section for this. And the text still has not been produced yet by the governmental printing office for some reason. That usually means when it's this much of a delay that there are a lot of bills being submitted right now. You know, leading into the elections, it's common, especially for crazy bills just looking to build steam. But I'll have that link down below, and as it's updated, the text will be there. And this is submitted by Congressman Jason Smith out of Missouri. Now, Jason Smith, if you live out there, you should remember the name because when he was in the Missouri General Assembly, he was one of the authors of the Missouri Castle Doctrine, the same exact law that the McCloskeys were following when they chose to save their own lives. What this bill looks to do is prevent U.S. citizens from being prosecuted for the use of force against an intruder as long as that force was used to protect themselves, another person, or private property. And that force can be used without retreat. Now right away, I'm in favor of that because several states, Massachusetts included, we have a variation of the castle doctrine, but you have to like run away, run for the high grounds if somebody comes in and goes boo. And you should not be able to defend yourselves unless like you're pushed into a corner or in a room with no other exits. But that is how some states handle your ability to protect yourselves, the people you love, and your private property. Now I'm going to read you some of the quotes from Congressman Smith regarding this bill when he introduced it. Now this was introduced 3 weeks ago now, July 21st, right after the circuit attorney charged the McCloskeys. So Congressman Smith says this: "The Missouri Castle Doctrine laws clearly support the actions of the McCloskeys. Gardner's politically motivated charges are an abuse of power we can't let stand. This bill sends a message to rogue prosecutors like Ms. Gardner that the American people have a right to defend their homes, their families, and their property. It allows American families to take all steps necessary to protect themselves from intruders or trespassers without facing the fear of prosecution. If Speaker Pelosi gets her way, we would be defunding law enforcement across the country. At that point, what's left? What stands between a parent and someone wanting to come onto their property and do harm to their family? We need to let these families know that they have a right to defend themselves, to keep their families safe, and the security to know they won't be wrongly targeted with political prosecutions for their actions. The American Family and Private Property Defense Act, H.R. 7716, will ensure all Americans are able to protect themselves, loved ones, and property without fearing legal action." Now, I would add an additional level of safety that everybody should really contemplate is joining the USCCA. The USCCA, think of it this way: it's having a lawyer on retainer in case you have to defend yourself, and then you don't have to play catch up. You already have that safety net there ready to defend you. Check them out. I'll have a link down below, uscca.com/GNG. Now, this bill is currently sitting before the House Judiciary Committee. No action has been taken other than that as of yet. But I want to read you a couple other quotes from another congressman that sponsored this with him. But before I jump into that, I want to let people know the value of roll call votes. Roll call votes are basically just a list of how each member of the committee or the full body of the Congress or whoever's taking the vote, it tells you how they voted, yay or nay, yes or no. In times like these, where bills have to be submitted to reaffirm what we already have, we need to know who stands with the country and who stands against it. And a roll call vote is a simple way to hold your elected officials accountable for their actions when it comes to the elections. So constantly ask your state and federal representatives to push for roll call votes at all costs. Many of them don't want that because then you don't know how they voted and they can just BS you looking to get your vote every year or every other year or every 6 years depending on the office. Now, U.S. Congressman Sam Graves is the other congressman who helped, submitted this bill as well as a co-sponsor, and he's also out of Missouri, and he had this to say. Every American should feel safe in their own home. We shouldn't live in fear of mobs or intruders threatening our lives, our families, or our property. This bill ensures Americans have the right to defend themselves and their families. It is the law of the land in Missouri and should be everywhere. It actually is, but we've kind of let people erode our rights. You still have the right to protect yourself, even before the Constitution was ever penned. He continues, with radicals in Washington threatening to defund the police and rogue prosecutors threatening homeowners with prosecution, we're left with fewer and fewer options to defend ourselves, our loved ones, and our property. This bill ensures that every American's fundamental right to be secure in their home is protected by federal law. So I will have links down below to both congressmen. If you live in Missouri, you should reach out to them and push this as hard as you can. And if you don't live in Missouri, you should be calling your elected officials, your representatives. They don't even represent you anymore. But tell them they should vote on this bill favorably, and you want them to push for a roll call vote, both in the committee that it sits in and on the floor should it get there. Guys and gals, it's coming to that time of year where less than 100 days away, less than 80 days away, I think. I'm not doing math off the top of my head here, but the election is close. And if you don't know how your current incumbents have been and they are up for re-election, now is the time to do your homework. Find out how they've been voting, look up articles on how they've made statements about people's safety, the Second Amendment. They're all starting to chime in on these cases, especially if they're lefties. Now's the time to call them out. Now's the time to hold them responsible, and now's the time to replace them. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is where you're going to get all this news here on Guns and Gadgets. And until we see each other again, please be safe. Please stay vigilant, and don't forget to carry your weapon. Take care, everybody.